So Josh, at this time, you were still working your full-time job, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I was still freelancing, but my freelance career was kind of like in motion graphics and visual effects was kind of starting to take off. I had a pretty good gig going on with Netflix and their like internal team. They would hire me every quarter to do some visual effects for them. But I kind of came to a point where I was like, okay, well, I'm spending all this time with my other job. And that it does take, I'm pretty tired at the end of it. It's very tough to do a side business and another job, even if it's just freelance at the same time, you know? And so at some point I kind of came to a crossroads and I was like, do I want to start a business with my significant other? Or do I want to build this career that I've been building for the past couple of years? And I think the answer was actually pretty easy because I didn't want to work for anyone. I wanted to work with my significant other, my wife now. So
That's true.
we just got married a couple months ago. So
Crazy. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Asian Hustle Network and Meta Prosper Creators podcast. We are very excited to have Jenine and Josh today, founders of the Tubby Nugget. I'm so excited to have you both. And I really want to know, how you both met.
Oh, thank you so much. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, similes.
Josh, you want to talk about how we met?
Well, we originally met at a film fellowship program. It was really, I was wanting to move out to California. I was originally from New York to pursue filmmaking, and Jenine was already in California, doing writing and producing and other types of work. And we just got paired up at this film fellowship, and it just kind of started from there. I was assigned to be like the director of the group, and you were the writer.
Yeah, so that was all the way back in 2015.
Yeah.
So we have been together and known each other for over 8 years now, I think.
Yeah. So after the project ended, I was like, "Hey, Jenine, you want to show me around Los Angeles? Kind of new to this town, you know?"
And keep in mind, I think that he and I had really great chemistry, both as working partners and as people.
Yeah.
And so I guess for the next month after the fellowship, we just got closer and closer. And eventually we ended up dating. So that became the start of our romantic relationship. And then during that relationship, we just kept working together because we really enjoyed it so much.
I knew she really liked puns, so I used puns to ask her out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm glad you want this on the internet.
I brought a calendar, a bag of dates, and a paintbrush because calendar has dates, bag of dates, paintbrush. I told her archaeologists use this to date dinosaurs.
It was very factually incorrect.
Yeah, I don't know anything about archaeology, but and then she said that worked out.
I did say yes. Yeah.
Oh, that was very clever. I love that. What did you think of the pun, Jenine?
I was dying. That was great. I said yes immediately because I was like, I did not think he would be asking me out, and I was like, seems like a great partnership. This is the way that things are starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think that humor has always been a really big part of our relationship. So I think that still carries true now that we do cartoons together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. So at that time, can you talk about what you were doing as part of that program at Jubilee and, how this kind of transpired? Did you ever think about possibly working together in the future? What was that like?
Well, for context, the fellowship, you get set up with strangers. And so there's 12 of us from around the world. You get put into a team of 4 and you don't know anybody. And that's probably the thing that made me realize how much I enjoyed spending time with him and creating things with him and collaborating with him is that we were very in sync during the program, even when we weren't in a romantic relationship. And so I think after the program, even though we were dating, we still realized we wanted to pick each other's brains creatively.
Yeah.
When I was in the program, I was still in school finishing my degree for screenwriting and production, and Josh was already working on visual effects and directing projects. And so the two of us in our separate career paths always found ways to collaborate with each other. So that was really
And she's
fun.
also just an amazing writer. She really is just fantastic about giving, characters voices and whatnot. And it's, So I was like, oh, definitely want to continue working with this person and, also date this person.
Yes, you get your cake and you get to eat it too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people love the idea of, being in a relationship with someone that you get to do business with them
Yeah.
also. But it is very, very hard, right? So
Oh,
props
yeah,
to
for
you
sure.
both for doing it. But I
you.
also think it's a really good opportunity for people to like learn more about their significant other and like find ways that, find things that they are really strong in and complement each other in those aspects, right? So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. But
Okay.
at that time, did you ever think like, okay, maybe I want to become an entrepreneur or like start my own business? Any thoughts around that?
I think for myself, at least, I always expected that I would have to work under someone in order to have my things made in the future. And so that was very much more of like an unattainable kind of dream where it's like, oh, if I want to be the one in charge, that's going to take a million other things that I have zero access to. So I did not think that I would be in a position where I get to make any like of the decision making behind the creative process. And for Josh, I know that he was a director and like VFX artist, but even then he was working for a lot of other people.
Yeah,
So.
I had a lot of like clients that I would work for. That just how I paid my rent, bought groceries. But I think it really like around after I moved to California in 2015 and did the whole freelance gigs for like 3 years, I realized I was just kind of tired of like working for other people and helping other people with their creative vision, and that's not. I mean, it was very fulfilling in some ways, because I got to perfect my craft and whatnot. But I think, like most artists, I think we kind of want to say what we want to say. We want to express ourselves and our own ideas, And so at that point, it was just kind of like I think entrepreneurship was like the only path forward because like you were saying, Janine, the only other option was pitching, trying to sell ideas to other people or like hoping that someone from up top would invest in our ideas. And in this age of like social media and whatnot, it became really much more easier to like get our ideas in front of a lot of people. And thankfully it worked out. Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Okay, so how did this Tubby Nugget idea transpire? And I really want to know, like, how did you come up with the name, first of all? I think there's some like inside joke about that, so we really want to know about that. And just like reading a bunch of articles on the both of you, I know that you guys love to like make little puns, like you mentioned, Josh, and just like it's like comedy is a really big thing in your relationship, and you both love making jokes with each other. So I think that's so fitting in terms of, you both creating Tubby Nugget. And it's like an example of like how the relationship is really like, it's a reflection of what it is. It's like always happy and like, just putting a smile on people's faces. And I think that was what I read about you too, like obviously putting a smile on people's faces and just like brightening up people's days, which Tubby Nugget really, really does. And
Means a lot.
I think people just go to the platform to, just find their source of like daily inspiration and happiness. But yeah, I want to know like how did this idea transpire? And coming up with the name and everything.
About like what it was a year into the relationship, she started calling me Nugget as like a pet. Couple nicknames,
I was not very good at nicknames.
And I was like, Nugget, really?
Listen, nuggets are great.
And so I started drawing little nuggets on my phone, and
it was actually over Facebook Messenger.
Facebook Messenger.
Do you remember when they had this feature where you would just doodle?
They still have the feature.
I think they do.
It's still like literally you can make a drawing on Facebook Messenger.
Yes, I
draw a little, and I would just use my finger, draw a little nugget. You basically like a snowman, just with legs and arms, and I would send it to her, and it would make your day. It would make you.
It would crack me up. Yeah. And I thought they were so funny because they would essentially be like these little like this little character portrayal of whatever we were joking around about.
I made for one of our anniversaries, I made you a mosaic of all the nuggets I had drawn for you over the years.
It was pretty great. It was a huge mosaic. That's how many nuggets he was sending over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it seemed so silly at the time, but it was the best inside joke for us because it felt like something small that made like the biggest difference in our relationship.
Yep.
And that little Nugget character ended up developing like a personality of its own that I would jokingly talk to and be like, Nugget, I'm having a bad day. Help me out, buddy. And so Josh realized that the tubbier, like the fatter and rounder the Nugget got, the happier I would get because I was like, that's adorable. So
Gotta add some
eventually,
pounds, this guy.
eventually I was like, you know
Janine's
what?
like just requesting for a nugget on demand, like depending on what mood she's in.
Oh, for sure. No, there was a nugget for every mood. And then I think I was like, hey, he's basically a Tubby Nugget. He's a Tubby Nugget. And so that just kind of became like the running joke between us. It was like, he's Tubby Nugget. And that little Tubby Nugget kind of just became a little bridge in our relationship.
Yeah.
And then eventually we were like sharing it with our friends and family as a joke, and they loved it. And Josh would draw Nugget into like photos with them.
Yeah, because that's what I thought Instagram was for. Or, you know, I was like, oh, you just post photos of yourself. So if Tubby Nugget's on Instagram, he's just posting photos of himself, you know. But then at some point we started making. Jenny, you had the idea to do web comics.
Oh, I love webcomics.
Yeah,
And so I was reading a lot of them, I think through like Webtoon and through like all these other like reading platforms. And I just loved how much humor there was in such a short amount of panels.
Yeah.
I think if you've like read comics yourself too, like Calvin and Hobbes, like I think growing up with that makes you really excited to even like dabble a little bit in that.
And that's how I guess it started like blowing up. Yeah. So.
Okay, so when you were thinking, okay, let's kind of like pivot or like expand this and do webcomics, right? Was this still like an internal thing where it was shared between the both of you and friends and family? And did it ever kind of cross your mind, like, maybe we should kind of just share this with the rest of the world because it makes us so happy?
We kind of like were just following the excitement, you know, following whatever felt right in the moment. So we were just posting comics, you know, the audience slowly began to grow bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And then pretty quickly we were like, we kind of want a plush toy of this guy, you know?
I think what had happened was like Josh and I were still in the film industry at that point. But I was taking a short break because of health issues. And so originally my doctors were telling me to take a year off. Yeah. And I'm not very good at taking time off.
So she started a business instead with Tubby Nugget. Yeah.
Full transparency, that's also because of his encouragement. But the way that he wanted to lift my spirits during that period was like, oh, the comics that we've been making, the Tubby stuff that we've been doing, let's just post them more and like do that for fun and see where it goes and see if people like it. Because I feel like you could use the cheer and other people could use the cheer, and we'll just keep posting. And hey, maybe by the end of 2019, we'll get like 10,000 followers and it'll be really fun. And then
it turned out we hit 10,000 followers within like the first week of January. And so we were just like, oh, maybe there's something here.
Yeah. And then, it seemed like everything was happening by accident almost, where the plush toys really happened because we had people commenting like, is there a plush toy of this little guy? And Josh and I were like, how hard could it be to make plush toys? Yeah. Turns out it's very hard. It's very, like I think because I had so much free time and Josh was still working at Netflix, I was like, I'll do a bunch of research and figure out what to do. And Josh was like, I'll fund it. Cool. Tell me what needs to happen. And I found out we needed to start like a business account and like a business banking account. We ended up working with the plush toy. There's this like registration place that you have to talk to in Philadelphia in order to make sure that Philadelphia or Pennsylvania to make sure that your plush toy is legal. Yeah. And so, it was just a whole slew of things. And we're like, oh, I think we're in business now. Like we have a business account. We're working with a factory through our friend Juliet, who her aunt owned a factory in Taiwan and was able to make these plush toys for us. And it was really touching. Yeah, we had a lot of help.
We essentially came into this with like zero business experience, but through like Janine's research and the help of a lot of our friends, especially our friend Eugene Choi. He's like a business coach, and he really
asked him everything.
Yeah, we asked him everything, and he was really kind. And I mean, honestly, he was a huge help in just showing us how to like, okay, this is a business now, you know, and this is how we can sustain ourselves and keep doing what we love, you know, through this. So,
yeah. So I hope everything's okay now, Janine, with
thank
your
you.
health and everything. So
I really appreciate it.
It's so ironic that you like jumped into it a whole new venture during that time. But I think also like the lightheartedness probably, I hope, kind of put away some stress for you. Maybe it was like an outlet for you to relieve the stress and help you feel better at times of the day.
I definitely think it did.
Yeah. So Josh, at this time, you were still working your full-time job, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I was. Well, I was still freelancing, but my freelance career was kind of in motion graphics and visual effects was kind of starting to take off. I had a pretty good gig going on with Netflix and their like internal team. They would hire me every quarter to do some visual effects for them. But I kind of came to a point where like I was like, okay, well, I'm spending all this time with my other job. And that it does take, I'm pretty tired at the end of it. It's very tough to do a side business and another job, even if it's just freelance at the same time, And so at some point I kind of came to a crossroads and I was like, do I want to start a business with my significant other? Or do I want to like build this career that I've been building for the past couple of years? And I think the answer was actually pretty easy because I didn't want to work for anyone. I wanted to work with my significant other, my wife now. So
That's true.
we just got married a couple months ago. So
crazy.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun and there's been a lot of learning curves. But honestly, I love it. It's great because especially after we got married, I feel like a lot of couples, they go off on their separate jobs during the day, but we see each other 24/7 and for better or for worse. Yeah. Definitely for worse. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But I feel like there's so many happy moments, like just like learning about each other through the comics and through Tubby Nugget. I think that's like one way that you guys were able to like find that worked for the both of you. Yeah. And now, I mean, Tubby Nugget, at least on Instagram, you guys have 2.7 million followers.
That is a crazy number.
It is crazy. And that's definitely not an easy feat. So congratulations on such high numbers. But I mean, what was that turning point? And what do you think really helped you get to that level? What was it like? Like that time where you're like, maybe we have something here. I know you mentioned when you first got to like 10,000 followers, that was really what clicked for you guys. But how did you guys decide maybe this is something we can turn into an actual business that's sustainable and that could really connect us with our audiences, especially on like the meta platforms, such as Instagram, Facebook, and platforms like that?
Well,
Josh, you can start.
I would say like anyone who's building a social media following or a business based off social media, we obviously understand it's very difficult and props to anyone who is pursuing that. Yeah. I think for us, what we realized is things kind of go in waves, at some point you'll be gaining like lots of followers, and then all of a sudden you're plateauing. Nothing will happen for like months. And then you gain more followers and then another flat line, And so for us, the way our coach tried to help us make it sustainable, Eugene would kind of like be like, okay, you have to make sure revenue's coming in every month and to make sure you're covered for those times when there's not a lot of activity, and become better at restarting, seeing what's working with the audience, looking at the analytics and like being like, okay, the audience really responds to this. How can we provide, more value, more encouragement? How can we make their days better? Sticking true to what's working,
Eugene was so good in that sense where I think one of my favorite things that he told us was never stop doing what worked to begin with, which was, I think, making wholesome content, which was what we wanted to do to start. And whenever we were like nervous or whenever we were afraid and stopped making the content, obviously we'd see a slowdown because we'd be like reaching for other streams of revenue. We're like, oh, maybe we should try like advertising this or trying to do
or start a new product or something like that. Like anytime we would flatline, I'd get really nervous and be like, oh, we gotta do something new. We gotta start something. And Eugene would be like, just stick to what's working, like keep encouraging people, keep advertising the plush toy, and that would be it. And honestly, that saved our lives because that really helped to make the business sustainable.
I think for like 4 years now.
Yeah. So it was
5 years actually.
Oh, 5.
Oh wow, 5 years. So it's like purely just like continuing to do what you did, right? And I think what you guys have really been able to do really well is just build a community. And with the meta apps, I think, you know, they're very, very good at helping creators build meaningful communities and find sustainable long-term success.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember like what were some of the strategies that you implemented? Like, how did you connect with your community a little bit more?
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason Instagram was the first place that we started posting was because it allowed us to be really engaged with our audience.
Yeah.
So there was a point in time where I would respond to every single comment that people would leave and have like reply as Tubby. And
It was easier when they were like less than 10,000
Yes.
followers, but that was
Definitely.
really key like early on because
Yeah.
Janine, everyone felt seen. Everyone felt like they got to interact with Nugget, and Janine, you know, you're the writer. It's just so encouraging just seeing like a little hello friend, so nice to meet you from Tubby Nugget, you know.
nice,
So you,
nice Tubby impression.
thank you. Yeah, but yeah, you did amazing with that.
And then something else that we actually did was we utilized people's Instagram stories. It was kind of unintentional actually, but Josh had like, you know, like the transparent images of Tubby. And so in our bio, we told people, send us a picture of you and we'll put Tubby in your picture. And it was basically what we were doing with our family already.
Yeah.
People were DMing us from all over the place, sending us photos of themselves. They're like, can you put Tubby with us here? And can you put Tubby with us here? And all I would have to do is drop the image that Josh had sent me in, make it look like Tubby was hanging out with the fam. And it was really cute. And people started sharing that organically on their stories, even though we didn't ask them to. And I think that's definitely a key part of why we started blowing up is it was like a trickle down effect where all these people would show their friends and then their friends and then their friends. And people just kept DMing. At some point we had to take that out of our bio because I was like, I can't respond to all these people, Josh. I'm so sorry. But it was fine. I think it was nice because it felt authentic to us as well, since we're not the best salespeople, to be honest. We're like, I think at the start, we were having a hard time being salespeople because we're just like, we just want everyone to have this. And we realized later on, like, oh, in order for people to have this, we do have to make a living, and it's okay to ask for that. And I think people were really excited to support us that way too, which meant a lot.
Yeah, I think what you guys do really well is you guys kind of created this character. You guys literally created a character who entered into all these people's lives, right? And kind of became their friend. And it's like, oh, let me see what Tubby Nugget is up to today. And so like, we'll check the comics, right? So I think that's where they kind of you guys created that like connection with a lot of your followers and your community. And it just creates a lot of trust and like friendship. And I think that's probably how you guys got so big so fast.
Thank you.
So you guys had started in 2016 and right 2016.
So technically that was when Tubby Nugget was conceptualized. That was 2016, you know, the inside joke.
The business started end of 2018 or 2019.
We started posting intentionally in December of 2018 with the intention of getting 10,000 followers by the end of 2019. And so we were formally became an LLC in March of 2019.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And so that was right before the pandemic.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
How did that affect Tubby Nugget? I mean, it's all like digital, right? And so I'm just curious, like, because people were at home, they were like on their phones a lot. Did it increase views? Did it, you know, kind of like just strengthen the relationship of a lot of people with Tubby Nugget? Like, how did that affect, how did COVID affect Tubby Nugget? And also, like, during that time of like ramp up, was there anyone who thought or said like, how are you going to create a business with this comic?
So crazy enough, like right before the pandemic, we were already having thoughts about like, how are we going to be sustainable? And Josh thankfully had a friend who he knew through his uncle, who was working at Snapchat at the time and was also an investor. And so his uncle recommended that he reach out to him and ask him questions, because we're like, how do we do this? Like, how do we keep doing this? We really enjoy it.
And so, yeah, we got a little bit of an investment that helped us through COVID. And then through COVID, like we were realizing, this is absolutely the time people need more encouragement, more things, more little comics to uplift them and cheer them up, during this very difficult time. And that was actually, we saw another boost wave of growth, just because we kept posting on Instagram and we started posting on Facebook as well. And people started engaging with our content even more, just because it was something like I think people needed at the time. And honestly, we needed it too. We were kind of like writing the comics for ourselves at that point as well. So, yeah.
So we were really fortunate because what happened was we were at the program when COVID hit, which was the investment program that was a branch of Snap called Yellow. And so they invested in how many businesses again?
Like 10 business. But it was really great. And ultimately just, and then after that, our coach, Eugene, he helped us. Again, it always goes back to him because we came from no business experience and he really did teach us a lot. So we keep shouting him out. Yeah. And then he taught us how to like make it sustainable, from there. Yeah. So, that was great. It was honestly, I think a series of very lucky accidents. I feel, but because I feel like a lot of people, we were really fortunate. Like if it hadn't been for that investment, I don't know what we would have done.
And being surrounded by other businesses, I think,
yeah.
like who were going through the same things. It felt like we could ask questions that we felt embarrassed to ask other people, and it made us feel like we could be better business leaders because of that.
Yeah.
So combination of a lot of things, and we're really fortunate that like Tubby could like be a source of joy for people during the pandemic because that was a really rough period. And I think even the two of us were feeling very heavy with how many people were like reaching out to us and telling us how much like our work meant to them when we at the same time were just like, this is really hard. Like we miss our people and our families.
Yeah.
And
I think that's also, I don't know, maybe this might be divulging from the question a little bit, but I think that's also an important part of Tubby Nugget where it's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time. I think it's important for Tubby Nugget to like address hardship. And Tubby Nugget's not always happy either, but that's where the strength comes from. If he's happy all the time, maybe it seems like there's not a lot of depth there, but if you're happy even when times are, or you find a way to keep pushing through even when times are hard, that's where I think where that true inspiration comes from.
Lean on your people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what I love about the Tubby Nugget webtoons is like sometimes I see Tubby Nugget, he might have like a bad day or something, but then he always finds like a silver lining. Yeah. And even though there might be some like bitterness, there's always like some good that comes out of it. And I think that's why the audience resonates with it so much, right? And that's probably why I got a lot of support. Was there ever a point where some people didn't understand what you were doing, especially like maybe family or parents? Like, I know that Josh came from kind of like an animation background, but for a lot of like our parents, maybe it's something that they don't understand, like, they want us to become lawyers or doctors.
Understandable.
Was there ever any people who didn't understand what you were doing?
Oh, yeah. In the nicest way possible, they didn't understand.
I will say, though, for both our parents,
we were both very
fortunate to have Asian parents that were very, very supportive of the arts. And they were just like, go.
You should talk about your parents first. Actually.
Yeah. My parents, they were like so supportive. Both my dad and my grandma helped give us a little bit of funds to help, kickstart the entire thing, which was fantastic. And I honestly couldn't do this without them. And both my grandma and my grandpa were entrepreneurs back in the day, and was
in
kind
Manhattan,
of
Chinatown.
Was kind of inspiration for me growing up. Just the way they conducted business, and my grandpa would start like 20 businesses within his lifetime, and it was really, really cool. Kind of because I feel like a bunch of me and several of my cousins, we got like the entrepreneur gene. We're just like, let's start something, even though we have no idea what we're doing. But it was. Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
How did our families like?
Oh, yeah, how did families? I think occasionally there was like moments or two where someone was like, okay, so like you got this Tubby Nugget thing going, that's really cool. What if it's like a fad, like pet rocks or something like that? And we're just like, It could be, I guess, you know. We
Which is
don't
what I
know.
mean by like in the nicest way
In the
possible.
nicest way possible. They were concerned, but
Supportive, but genuinely concerned.
yeah, I mean, but everyone has. I think what we learned starting our own business is that everyone's like an expert in their own thing, you know. And at some point, like, you know, obviously it's great to like go out and seek as much advice as possible. We definitely did that. But at some point, you know, you're the one who spent the most time building your business, and you're kind of the expert, you know. So I think you got to trust in yourself. And so it was, you know, some conversations with my family, like, oh yeah, this is how it's gonna work. We don't really know what's gonna happen, you know, 10, 20 years from now. But like, you know, neither does. If we're being honest, neither do people with like 9-to-5 jobs either. You know, people can be laid off at any instant. You know, it's. I think Jim Carrey has this quote like, "You can, you know, lose it all by doing something safe. So why not risk it all by doing something, you know, actually risky." I don't know. I'm paraphrasing. That's a terrible paraphrasing. But like,
No, I think
you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, right?
And for myself, my parents also like, I think they knew I was not going to wind up in anything non-creative very early because they knew I loved reading, I loved writing, I loved art, and I was awful at anything else. And so I was very bad at math and science. Actually, no, science I was good at. Just kidding. Math I was bad at. Physics I was bad at.
And
Not that I was going to go into like become a physicist or
Janine's
anything.
parents were like so supportive.
They were.
I stayed with them for a little bit before we got married.
Yeah.
And they were just like, just use the bottom floor. You know, we turned the living room of their house into like the Tubby Nugget factory, you know. And they were like, just do your thing, you know. And I was just like, it meant so much to have the support of both her parents and my parents.
It's not something
Yeah.
I expected from them, actually. Maybe from my dad, but my mom was a little more traditional. But she ironically has become Tubby Nugget's
she's the
biggest
biggest Tubby Nugget fan.
Like she gets upset when she doesn't see the comic before everybody else,
Yeah.
and so Josh has to show her everything.
Whenever we're
I
making
love
like
it.
whenever we're making a new product,
She has all the prototypes.
the prototype.
If
Like
you
the
are
prototype goes to
wondering,
her.
if you were wondering
has
where any of the prototypes for any of our merch is, it's at my.
she has a little
Tubby shrine.
Yeah, she has a little Tubby shrine in her
taking
room.
up space in her closet.
Yeah, I'm just like, thank you for keeping
Oh
those
my
safe.
gosh,
Yeah.
I love that. I literally got chills just hearing how like, you know, they created the space for you guys downstairs and just like, just use it. And honestly, like creating that space for you guys, just like, I'm sure it means so much, right? For you to just like not be stressed out with like the pressures of, you know, approval from your loved ones. So, like that just
Josh's
makes it-
camera just stopped, so I'm gonna
Oh, okay.
mine, and so he can resume the recording.
Okay, we'll do a little clap so I know
Do a
where
little
to.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
There we go.
There you go.
Sweet. Because now we have backup footage. And it means a lot though that you love, like, I think that I am grateful because I think Josh and I are also super aware that like a lot of Asian American like kids don't get to have this kind of support.
Yeah.
And I will say like a lot of people outside of our direct family were also very concerned. Like I had aunts and uncles who were just like,
What are you doing?
what you doing? And are now also like some of our biggest supporters and are just like, where's my Tubby Nugget stickers for my suitcase? And I love them so much. And I'm grateful that we can kind of be evidence for them that it is possible to pursue your dreams and have a living and have stability living in Los Angeles. I think a lot of my other cousins too have been able to now pursue more creative paths because of this. And it makes me really excited because I think we all love checking in with each other on what we're up to. Like some of my cousins went into photography, some went into like the video game industry. And I do really think that it's because my parents set a really great example for them to be like, hey, like our kid, like the world is changing and our kids can absolutely make a life doing what they love.
Yeah.
And it may be a little scary and we may not understand it, but I think the best thing we can do is support them and like let them thrive in like the careers that they're meant to be in.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think they're definitely seeing like a different side of us. Like for a lot of our parents, like maybe it's
Yeah.
not something that they understand, but for them to see that it's something that we're passionate about, that they're at least trying to like be more open to those ideas, right? And I'm so glad that both of your parents had given you the opportunity and space to do that. I do want to talk about how what a lot of Meta does is like they invest into their creators because of the value that they bring from like artists to like experts. I feel like creators and artists, they drive so much of the passion and creativity that Meta sees across their apps.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you're able to monetize Tubby Nugget, and like what was that kind of experience like? Like, did you have that idea cross your mind? Like, how are we going to monetize? Is it even possible? I know that you mentioned you had that business coach. So what were some of the things that he taught you that was able to make Tubby Nugget sustainable for you?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I think Meta has they have a really good integration with Shopify, which we use to run our store. So people were able just to buy Tubby Nugget plushies right off Instagram, right off Facebook. And that was so helpful, just being able to really easily integrate our store into like the comics, so there's less what's the word, like traction between getting from point A to point B when someone wants to adopt their own nugget,
Yeah, I think it was really helpful because Josh and I felt like Instagram and Facebook were like the perfect organic platforms to be on for Tubby to engage with people. And I think that because we could post like everything and make it feel like it wasn't even an ad, the way that we utilized all of the different features, I think just made it really easy for us to like tie in the plush toy and like make a living that way for the first like few years of our business.
I think, specifically Facebook, surprisingly had like the best monetization out of like pretty much from what we could see, all the social media platforms we were on. And that was a huge blessing. We were obviously able to, use that money to like reinvest in our own business, because we were just getting money just from posting, so that was really fantastic. And we're very grateful to like Facebook and Instagram. I mean, the entire thing started on Instagram, so the fact that we're not, I think, but beyond like monetization, I think one of the best things was getting like instant feedback from like the fans and like the people who love Tubby Nugget. We would post something and they'd immediately be like, oh, we love this, post something, maybe it doesn't get as many likes, maybe it doesn't get as much engagement. We're like, okay, now we can kind of see which direction to take, so that was really just the whole their platform is so easy to use. And it's really like, so many people are on it, that's where the audience is, and they make it, I honestly think like the algorithm does reward, when people make, especially with reels and everything, there's more opportunities than ever to get your stuff in front of an audience, so it's really exciting. And honestly, we're happy to continue posting on Facebook and Instagram for us as long as Tubby Nugget exists, it's his home.
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, for like Asian Hustle Network, for example, we started on a Facebook group, so we wouldn't have existed or even, I don't think, grown to the scale if it wasn't for a Facebook group.
Facebook groups is like the
sleeper.
It's like Reddit threads and Facebook groups are the best place to get like information,
Yeah.
And so now,
that's how I had found Asian Hustle Network to begin with. Was like I saw like Facebook groups and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's really cool to see other like Asian business owners. Like we've kind of just silently like existed in the group, like seeing everyone's stories, and it's really inspiring. And I love that it's like a group like where we just get to see everybody's like not only their hurdles but their successes and like how they communicate and how they are just really transparent about what they go through. You guys have created such a safe space, and that's so special.
Oh, thank you so much. That means the world to me and like the whole AHN team. Yeah, we really want to, amplify Asian entrepreneurs and founders and creators. And, that's like primarily how we found out about Tubby Nugget. It was like through the AHN Instagram account. So I'm excited that we were able to connect. And I remember like the first time we were seeing the cartoons, we're just like, oh my gosh, like this puts such a smile on our faces. And
It's so sweet.
Yeah. So
I do remember Brian, I think, had messaged me personally to tell us that like he was a big fan. And that meant the world to me because it also kind of shows, I don't know, there's like something very human about the fact that like you two as like the ones who founded this huge venture, like are now like reaching out, like you see everyone personally. And I think that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how Tubby is too. We have a huge audience, but there's so many faces that we've become familiar with, like as individuals. And it's really awesome to see everybody like doing their thing.
It is great because, like, again, a lot of the whole Asian stereotype is most of us become doctors, lawyers, not a lot of people are starting their own ventures and whatnot. And I think it's fantastic that you guys have fostered a community which encourages it, and because I honestly,
very diverse community too.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. That means the world to us. So what is next for Tubby Nugget, or maybe individually for the both of you? Like, how do you plan to expand in the next 5 years for Tubby?
We just got back from New York. I think we actually checked in with you back when we were in New York, and we got to catch up with our publishers because our first book is coming out in October, and that's super exciting.
October 7th.
I thought it was October 8th. Oh no,
Is it?
I don't know.
know.
It's one of those dates in October.
We'll confirm.
2024.
Yeah.
Our first book is coming out, and the second and third are in the works. And we're really excited to be under Penguin Random House.
Yeah.
So we're working with two of their imprints, which is the Tartar team and the Penguin Workshop teams, and they are both incredible.
Yeah, everyone there really get Tubby Nugget, and we met them in person.
They're so great.
It's so great. We met our agent in New York as well.
Yes.
He's Noah. He's fantastic.
We're currently represented by Verve and by Mylan. I think you know Mylan. The Click Now team has set up so much opportunity for us.
Mylan's literally the best. She's helped us so much.
Her and Andrew and Kevin are truly like some of the biggest cheerleaders. They are so supportive and so on top of things that I think they also gave us a lot of opportunity to thrive because I think it's almost like they see our value before we do and encourage us to like take up space, which is something that Josh and I are still learning to do. As I think even as Asian Americans, it's kind of hard to do sometimes is learn to take up space. I think most of us are also like so accustomed to like
being in the background, just like not intruding.
Or even scared to like ask for help, right? Like,
for sure. Like
we're very reluctant to do that.
Oh, all the time, yeah. And now that we have them, so much more opportunity has come to Tubby, and it's been so much fun. So we're ideating on a lot of new projects for Tubby, like games and shows. And so we'll see what
one step at a time.
Yes, I feel like every year our plans change and like introduce something brand new and exciting, and we're almost never prepared, but we always get there and we're prepared.
But I love that you continue to expand, and like already looking at your website, like there's so many different like products and things that people can buy to just like incorporate Tubby Nugget into their lives a little bit more, into their daily lives. So love that you are like continuing to expand and just like find other ways to have Tubby Nugget into your followers and audiences' lives. So incredible job and work for like what you've been able to build with Tubby Nugget. So I have one last question for you, and that is, for a lot of us as like creators who are just like trying to start out in their content creation journey, what advice would you have for someone who is starting out on the content creation journey and trying to connect with their audiences in a more meaningful way from what you've learned in building Tubby Nugget, especially on Meta's apps?
That's such a good question.
Yeah, I have an answer. Do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. I think the biggest thing is iterating, on the content. Again, it's very difficult and it's like a full-time job, especially if you're already running a business on top of it, to have, to learn like the skills. If you ideally, you kind of know how to do a little bit of video and whatnot. So it's, again, we totally understand that it's a difficult thing for a lot of people. But oftentimes, again, one of the best things about posting to social media is that you get instant feedback, right? And so what we would do is we would do 10 posts, and we would look at, okay, which one did the best? Okay, Tubby Nugget talking to the audience against like a white backdrop, that did the best. Okay, we'll make 10 more of those, and then we'll iterate and we'll see which one out of those. And after a while, we kept fine-tuning it. It was a combination of both fine-tuning our content and also just experimenting with new stuff as well. Even things we think, this technically isn't going to do well on social media, but we're going to try it out anyway just because it's fun and we like it,
Yeah.
So that's how...
You'd be surprised what people think is also fun. So
Exactly. So it was a mix of both doing what works and experimenting, and just honestly posting as often as possible. You know, we tried to, at some point, I think we tried to post once a day, and that was really helpful for the growth. You know, like posting once a day for like a month or something like that. That was really great. And it's a long journey. Again, like we mentioned, there's big ups and downs. You know, but the nice thing about it, I would say, is that if whenever there is like a low and you feel like you're starting from scratch, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of is always that way in a sense. Even for us, we have an Instagram account with over 2 million followers. And if we don't post for a couple, weeks or so, obviously our engagement's going to go down. That's just naturally how it works, right? But then it's nice to be like, oh, we have been doing this for so long. And eventually for most people who do content creation, they get used to like, okay, I know my audience. I know, my brand. Yeah.
It's
and
never the end.
I can always pick it back up.
Like
you can always, it's never like, this is the end. That's I think what a lot of people feel when they see their engagement tank, but it's never the end, and you can always keep going. You can always restart. So that's kind of like, I don't know if that was helpful, but like I think that's kind of like what my thoughts on it. Yeah.
And I think probably building off of Josh on iteration, you'll never know if people like it if you never post it. And I think that our sense of humor comes out a lot in Tubby, and that's something that I never thought people would resonate with. Where I'm just like, this is it's like this little song about a burrito. It's stuff that we think is so silly and like so funny. Half the time we're just like, I don't know if people relate to this, but I enjoy it, and I know that there's never a real formula to figure out what people enjoy. Yeah. And so I think have confidence that there is an audience for you somewhere. You just need to be true to it sounds cheesy, but you need to be true to yourself when it comes to the content that you create, because people can tell when it's inauthentic. People can tell when it's not you, and when you're taking from other people or like trying to be something you're not. And I think Tubby is genuinely and truly a combination of us both. And so I definitely encourage people to keep posting. You never know what will resonate and what won't. If you don't post, if you don't decide to do the thing. And I think we're also like a very perfectionist culture. And so I think that was a big thing I had to get over, was like, I wanted everything to look and be received perfectly. And I had to learn, I was like, you know what, this is good as it is. I did my best. Here we go. And that's how we grew, is like, we just stopped putting ourselves on a pedestal and made it fun for us again. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned, it's like a combination of both your sense of humors, and if you're feeling like that certain type of way, I'm sure there is an audience that is feeling that same exact type of way as well. And it is the fact that you are being authentic that people are able to resonate with it, because yes, as soon as you are being inauthentic, people can definitely pick up on it really, really quickly.
Audiences are smart. They can pick up on everything.
Yes, exactly. Well, Jenine and Josh, I had such a pleasure just learning about both of your stories and how you made the Tubby Nugget and the story behind it. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Where can our listeners find out more about Tubby Nugget as well as the book that you mentioned?
So all of our information is on our website, which is www.tubbynugget.com. And then, of course, you can find us on our biggest platforms, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok have some of our largest audiences. And
our YouTube account is also
YouTube,
starting to grow too.
YouTube just hit, I think, like 500,000, and so we were really excited by that. I think every year there's like a new platform that kind of
it's Tubby Nugget. It's at Tubby Nugget on TikTok and Instagram, and then Tubby Nug on Facebook and YouTube. We
couldn't get the Tubby
Nugget.
Couldn't
get the username as fast enough for those two, but
it's
all right.
But yeah, I think you can find us there. We're always excited because I feel like every platform has its challenges and its joys. But Instagram will always be our home. So if you want to find us there, it's probably the place that we started it all. So happy to have people follow us there. And it is how we met Asian Hustle Network. So Facebook and Instagram are the place that I think you can engage with Tubby the best.
Yeah.
Awesome. We will include all of that in the show notes. It is such a pleasure having you both on the show. Thank you so much, Jenine and Josh.
Great so nice talking to you too.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.